My name is Jarek Wilkins. I'm going to be discussing a critical economic issue within automotive retail. That is the alignment of employee incentives to maximizing profitability in automotive retail. For many years, dealerships have had challenges in both recruiting and retaining top talent within the sales departments. Oftentimes, this balance has caused major shifts in turnover, training expense, and quality of service provided to our customers. So how exactly does a dealership align the incentives that we offer to our sales team that's going to tie into the values of the company promoting long-term maximum profitability? That's one of the things we're going to discuss in my paper and in this short video tonight. First of all, I want to identify the problem. Simply stated, it is how do we align the salesperson or the agent, their incentives with the company or the principal, while at the same time maximizing profitability for the dealership. Automotive dealerships historically that do a good job maintain a net to sales profit of only 2.2%. This provides little margin for error when making adjustments to both compensation and increases in revenue. Ideally, we want to determine how is it that we can increase sales, increase gross profit, and still maintain a level of expenses that's going to allow us to maintain the industry average or greater of 2.2% net to sales. Oftentimes, we find that there is a conflict that exists between the salesperson and the company. So we have to look at different ways to compensate our salespeople in today's environment to address this problem. What is it that the salesperson is looking for? Well, the salesperson is looking to earn as much money as possible while doing as little as possible. So we also have to consider shirking and how that comes into play in this industry. We also have to look at the fact that oftentimes when we go to the opposite end of the spectrum and approach things with a 100% commission-based structure, they're only looking at short-term gains and not the long-term interest of the company. So how do we tie all these components together from a sales standpoint? Well, what is it that the company's looking for? Dealerships out there are of course trying to make a profit, but they're also interested in maintaining quality reputations, with challenges being presented to dealerships on a regular basis through review sites, customer service surveys, outside sources such as J.D. Powers. It's important to not only maximize revenue, but they also need to make sure that they're able to have it sustainable for the long run. So there are different components that are going to have to come into play in a quality incentive plan that's going to allow our salespeople to make the necessary income, have a higher level of retention amongst the salespeople, and still avoid shirking issues going forward. So the question is, how are salespeople compensated? Well, historically, salespeople have been compensated through 100% commission based off of the gross profit of the individual deals they sell. For example, if a salesperson were to sell a new vehicle and the dealership had a profit of $1,000, most compensation plans would pay them anywhere from 20 to 25% of that gross profit, or $200 to $250. Well, obviously for a salesperson to maximize their income, they're going to focus on vehicles and deals where they can earn a higher gross profit. Commonly in this industry are SUVs, larger minivans, and other types of luxury units have the higher gross margins in them. So those are the vehicles that salespeople are focused on. Well, in today's market, you also have many small vehicles as well, compact, subcompact vehicles. The margins on those vehicles are very small. Salespeople have often shirked handling customers on those type of vehicles because the profit was so low. So one trend has been to transition from 100% commission of gross to offering unit bonuses. They've also, in recent days, combined that with a base salary. In the automotive industry, there are seasonality functions that come into play. In your summer months, for example, car sales are much higher than they are during winter months. During clearance times, such as in August during the model year-end clearance, or in March during the fiscal year-end clearance, there are higher sales volumes, hence there's higher revenue being generated and more commissions earned for salespeople. This produces different challenges in the fact that winter months, salespeople earn lower commissions because there's not as many vehicles being sold, no matter how hard they work. So to balance this out, some companies are now offering a base salary and then paying them simply a flat bonus based on the units sold. This also avoids them shirking responsibility to sell the subcompact and compact vehicles. However, there's been another trend on dealerships who have employed this type of strategy. They've seen profit margins drop because, again, salespeople no longer have the incentives to push for higher gross profit on those SUVs and vans and sports cars and so forth, because they're still getting the same flat fee under these pay structures. So it appears to me, as we examine the best approach, that it's going to need to be a hybrid approach, something that will provide some base security at a small level, but also compensate them on the higher gross profit, tie it into CSI so they're focused on long-term, as well as also pay them unit bonuses so they're focused on those subcompact and compact vehicles to avoid shirking. So when you think about the compensation issues within the auto industry, it doesn't appear that there is a one-size-fits-all scenario. Different dealerships are going to have to adapt their compensation plans for their specific situations, but they've got to take into account the fact that there are differences between the principal and the agent as they're employing these plans. Another issue to take into account is that you must have monitoring, okay, to avoid shirking and adverse selection, and we also must control these costs as well. All of these must come into play when looking at how we compensate a sales team. It's important to be able to align the values for both the principal and the agent through a hybrid approach so that we can have a successful dealership operation and long-term employees who are earning a good living and developing a successful career. The automotive industry is a great industry with above industry averages for compensation. Salespeople and managers in automotive retail make considerably more money than in other sectors. However, we have not done a good job in communicating this, nor balancing the ebbs and flows of the business that come into play with seasonality. For us to be successful in this business, it is critical that we continue to adapt our compensation to align with that of the companies. Thank you and have a great evening.